Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is now the 21st MCU film. I can't believe how many MCU films there are right now. I just can't believe it. It's the final MCU film before Avengers Endgame in a month. And I can't believe I just said those words, that Avengers Endgame comes out in a month. Time flies. I just can't believe it already. I felt like the teaser trailer just came out yesterday. Anyways, this newest MCU film is directed by Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden and stars Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn, and Jude Law. The plot of this film is set in the 90s where we meet Carol Danvers / Captain Marvel, played by Brie Larson, and this is her origin story. And is a Kree fighting with Star Force and doesn't remember about her past on Earth as an Air Force fighter pilot. After getting abducted by the Skrulls, the villains of this movie, she crash lands on Earth and meets a younger Nick Fury, as always played by Samuel L. Jackson, this time with the aging effects. They both go on a journey to discover more about her past and her identity, while also trying to stop a war between the Kree and the Skrulls. I was looking forward to Captain Marvel. I was excited that we're getting a female-led superhero movie in the MCU after Wonder Woman in 2015, which was really good, so I was excited to see the MCU do a female-led superhero movie. I was enjoying the trailers, and the MCU has been doing good work, and I was looking forward to this movie. And I was excited to see Brie Larson in the role of Captain Marvel. She seems like a great choice. She's such a talented actress, especially in her Oscar-winning role of Room, which she was fantastic in. Absolutely deserved her Best Actress win. And I was excited to see her as Captain Marvel. And I was hoping for another fun and solid film in the MCU, and I did get that. I did have a ton of fun with Captain Marvel after I left the theater. However, do I think it's great, or will it be reaching in my top 10 favorite MCU movies anytime soon? Sadly, no, since I do have some flaws with this movie, and I do think it's one of the weaker MCU movies. But this is definitely not a bad movie, and I did enjoy it despite its flaws. First, on the positives, there are some strong performances from the cast. They are doing a good job with this movie. I thought Brie Larson was a pretty good choice as Captain Marvel. Before this film, some people criticized her acting in the trailers for being wooden and stoic, and I thought, I'll just wait until I see the movie. Her acting in the film is much better than the trailer. She has some personality in this movie. I like her charm, her sassy attitude, her bravery, her determination. Although I do wish she was developed a little bit more, and I did feel like Brie Larson was a bit wooden in a few places, but I thought she was a pretty good choice as Captain Marvel, and I'm looking forward to see what they do with her in Endgame as well as future movies. And Samuel L. Jackson, as always, is great as Nick Fury. I love seeing the banter between Carol Danvers and Nick Fury. Those were some of my favorite parts of the movie. They had excellent chemistry together. I love their banter, their back and forth, their conversations. I love those scenes. And I also want to mention something. The de-aging CGI on Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury in this movie, I gotta say, superb. I mean, just wow. Just great CGI. And after I saw this movie, I watched some clips of Die Hard with a Vengeance. That movie came out in 1995, and this movie takes place in the year 1995. And just to compare the CGI, what Samuel L. Jackson looked like in 1995, just like spot on CGI. I mean, seriously, it looks so good. And in my opinion, it's some of the best CGI in the movie, and Samuel L. Jackson, as always, is great in this movie. However, my favorite performance in this movie was surprisingly Ben Mendelsohn as the leader of the Skrulls. Told us in this movie, he was great in this movie. And it is another villain role for Ben Mendelsohn. Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, Ready Player One, and now this. Is Ben Mendelsohn always going to play the villain? But nevertheless, he was great in this movie, and surprisingly, my favorite character in this movie. For the first half of this movie, I was expecting another MCU villain. It was like, he'll probably just be an MCU villain for the first half of this movie. But without spoiling anything, in the middle of this movie, and when we learn more about him, and he becomes a layered character in this movie, I just thought, oh, I do like that. Yeah, I really like that character, and I want to see more of this character in the future, and I thought Ben Mendelsohn did a great job in this movie. My favorite character in this movie. And the rest of the performances, Jude Law's really good, Annette Bening does a good job. The rest of the performances, they're good. And I also want to mention something. Goose the cat, most adorable thing in the MCU since Baby Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I love this cat so much. Both funny moments with this cat and adorable. This cat's awesome. And the action scenes in this movie are entertaining and a ton of fun to watch. My favorite action scene in this movie takes place on this train. Carol Danvers is chasing down one of the Skrulls that can like shapeshift into different people. And I really enjoyed watching that scene. That was my favorite action scene in the movie. And I did like the visual effects in this movie. I particularly liked the makeup on the Skrulls. Very well done. Thought that was great makeup. And like I said, I really loved the de-aging effects on Samuel Jackson and Nick Fury. Thought that was great. The best CGI in the movie in my opinion. And I also do like the effects of the Skrulls, the way they shapeshift into different people. I thought that was pretty cool. I was also looking forward that this film takes place in the 90s, and it's the second MCU movie to take place in the past. First being Captain America the First Avenger, how that movie takes place in the 40s during World War II, and this film takes place in the 90s, and I did like the 90s in this movie with the music, the computers in one scene, and also blockbuster video. I did enjoy the 90s setting in this movie. Sadly, I do have some flaws with this movie. I will get to those right now. First, the people directing this movie haven't directed a movie like this before. They mostly directed independent films before this movie, and the way they directed the action scenes in this movie, it kind of shows that they haven't made a movie like this before with a big budget. Because I wasn't a fan of the hand-to-hand combat scenes in this movie. I didn't like the way they were filmed, and I felt like they were edited just a bit too fast. I couldn't tell what was going on sometimes. And speaking of the action scenes in this movie, aside from the train scene and one action scene with a 90s song that I didn't enjoy, some of the action in this movie was pretty forgettable. There wasn't really a lot of action scenes in this movie that stuck out to me, or ones that I'm going to remember for a long time. And also, there is one revelation with one of the main characters of the film that I pretty much saw coming. There's one scene where a character is talking to someone who's been in an MCU movie before, and I was getting a little suspicious of what that character was revealed going to be. And one final flaw, one that kind of made me upset, and one I was looking forward to in an MCU movie, the origin of how Nick Fury got his eye patch, and I was looking forward to seeing that. And when I saw it in this movie and how Nick Fury lost his eye, I said, really? That's how Nick Fury lost his eye? Just really? That just felt like lazy writing to me. It kind of reminded me of the scene in Solo, A Star Wars Story, how Han got his name. I just thought, really? Just why? But overall, despite those flaws, I did enjoy Captain Marvel for what it was. It's not one of my favorite MCU movies. I would put it in some of the weaker MCU films in my opinion. Iron Man 2 my least favorite, Thor the Dark World, Incredible Hulk, and Captain Marvel, that's where I would place it in my MCU ranking. Even with its flaws, and it's a little forgettable in my opinion, but it's still an enjoyable film. And there are 2 credit scenes in this movie. 1-minute credit scene. If you want to get hyped for the Avengers Endgame, definitely stay for the mid-credit scene. As for the end credit scene, it was a funny scene, and you don't necessarily have to stay for that scene, but if you want to, it was pretty funny, so stay for the end credit scene if you want to. So overall, I'm going to give Captain Marvel 3.5 stars out of 5. I don't think it's great in my opinion, nor one of my favorite MCU films, but I did enjoy it for what it was, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of Captain Marvel in the future, as well as Endgame. And the next MCU movie is Avengers Endgame, and I can't believe it. It's coming out in a month. Bring it on. So what do you guys think of Captain Marvel? Do you agree? Disagree with me? Let me know below. Make sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new here. It really means a lot. I'm Jack Benner, and look forward to another movie review.